That was nice.
This?
Yeah.
The gesture I did? Yeah. This is a song called Bloom, and I'm Louise, and this is Jason.
Hi.
And I'm talking about my record, breaking it down song by song, here with my computer and this television and this person.
I'm here for moral support.
I don't actually know him. He just kind of showed up, but that's fine. So this song, for me, I don't know if you've been following this YouTube series, but I changed the color with every song. Actually, Derek Jansen changes the color, the man behind the camera here. But I am a person with synesthesia. It's really important to me that things match when I'm making music. And this song to me is very much sort of candy colored. It's got fuchsias and light pinks and really light blues and light purples and dark purples. So it's very much like almost video game-esque to me, and that really influenced the way that I built the sounds in the song. So yeah, it's called Bloom. It's more or less a love song, sort of from the perspective of a curmudgeon, which is me. And it's kind of it's one of the most challenging songs I've written for myself vocally. I don't know why I wrote a melody like this. I find it very hard to sing, but that's part of the challenge for me. And a great segue into talking about CQ later, but first I'll talk more about the song. I wrote this at home. Don't remember which apartment I was living at because I lived in a few over the pandemic. But no, I remember it was in my new place. I wrote it in my tiny little home studio, which also doubles as a laundry nook. And it, just kind of came out in one day. I really liked the idea of writing something with a kind of R&B inspired chorus. So the sort of, I can't imagine another way. The way I sing that is really fun for me because I'm very inspired by that sort of early 2000s era of R&B music, probably because of I grew up in that era. It's sort of imprinted onto my soul. And I've never really done a song that leans into that. So this is probably my best attempt. However, filtered through a sort of New Order / video game music kind of filtration system. And again, referring back to the colors, I don't know if there's any millennials out there who grew up playing Snowboard Kids on N64, but there's one song in Snowboard Kids, and I don't even know if I've ever actually found it. I may have made it up in my imagination because it's all snow, like digital snow, and I really love the idea of digital snow. And it's this like one level of the game where it just has this really great music with lots of arps, and I just really loved that. At least my memory did. And during the pandemic, we all felt nostalgic for comforting things from childhood, and that's kind of, I think, part of how this song came to be as well, is a little bit of a weird exploration into my N64 loving self of yore and present. So yeah, I wrote the song, brought it to Jay and Jason. I think I told you, I don't know, I wanted to probably another Kylie Minogue reference because I love my Kylie, but also bright, sort of joyful, but also it's a dark song. All my songs kind of don't fully go there. They're always a little bit like happy, sad because I love that kind of music. And yeah, I'll let you talk because I've been chatting away.
Oh, well, what would I say? Yeah,
I know, I threw you on the spot because I felt like I was talking too much.
No, I'm listening to you because it's interesting because now hearing kind of like your recollections of how the song, the genesis of the song and what the inspirations are, like when we started making the songs and kind of fleshing everything out, you had mentioned these kind of points before, but as the song unfolds, it kind of takes on a life of its own as well. Because when you say like video game, I think the song brings you back to that emotional state, but I wouldn't say you would hear any of it of a video game kind of sound in the song so much.
Yeah. It's more of like a feel for sure. Yeah. Because I think like the closest I think we came to making this sound like a video game would be the ARP that we have in the end.
Right.
Which I originally had for like the entire bridge. There was no background vocal. It was just like the whole time, and it was not that interesting, but we ended up bringing it back towards the end. And I'll play some of it here. And for me, that's just like my childhood condensed into a sound. It's Enya. It's giving Enya.
Yeah.
It's giving Snowboard Kids. It's giving Digital Snow. It's giving snowboard trips as a teenager. And for me, that was really fun to play with that angle in my music this time around. I've sort of never gotten that nostalgic before, I guess you could say, using sounds. I love an 80s tone. Everyone knows that about me. I love the 80s, big hair, big snare. But this is more of a different side of myself I've never really explored before in production and also in songwriting. So yeah, it was really fun to kind of bring these sounds and then have Jay filter them through his kind of interpretation of that era, I guess, which is kind of early 90s, really late 80s, and then make the song that it is today.
Yeah, it's following it's taking cues from your vocal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, because musically we can kind of take all these pieces apart, and I feel like any of the songs from the record, and including this one, you pushed yourself for that next level of soulfulness and melody that even I feel like, and it's cliche to say like, oh, does a song hold up with just an acoustic guitar or whatever, or a piano? But I feel like these do.
Yeah, thank you.
You know,
I appreciate that.
And especially like going in and mixing them, you can, any of these elements, they kind of put you in the direction of these different feels, which, you know, is that color palettes, but ultimately they're painting a picture around the focal point, it being your vocal.
Yeah, it's true. This vocal that I wrote is kind of challenging to sing, so it was hard to sort of allow it to just be and not try to like change it so it wasn't so nuts, because the da 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 da, I find it quite hard to sing, and I don't know how I'm ever going to do that live. But in the studio, I'm glad we stuck to it, and I did have a lot of help from CQ, Carolyn Quinn, who's a vocalogist and vocal producer and vocal coach who's based out of Vancouver, and her approach to singing and how the voice moves and how to open up the throat just changed my entire perspective on my own voice and allowed me to realize I could push it and change it and in a healthy way so I could achieve the sounds and the notes I wanted to achieve without damaging or sounding too screechy. So that was really fun for me. This song really, I think, changed the way I sing for the better. And I used a lot of ocean samples on this one. I got a little whale in here that comes in always like right before the bridge, right before the chorus.
I remember when you said like, oh, I want to have a whale. And I thought you were kidding. Yeah. But I was like, oh, actually this really works.
It does. Like it. Yeah. I mean, I'll play it. Yeah, it works perfectly with this song, and you wouldn't think that it would, because usually when you find a natural sample, you have to like quantize it or you have to pitch it to be in the correct key. But this one, it was ready to go. I think we had to change the tempo of it, I think, a little bit to make it fit, but otherwise I think it was just sort of like slide it in. It's good to go. Here's a humpback whale. And the deeper layer for me is that I now spend a lot of my time in Mexico, southern Baja, where there are humpback whales everywhere. And I know it's really corny, but I wanted to reference this new inspiration in my own writing because I have been quite inspired from spending time there. So I got a little bit of ocean. And I'm deeply a new age person in my heart and soul. So, I mean,
you really are.
My future is going to be like a whale sound record, like honestly. And I'm okay with that. I'm here for it, as they say. And I'll I'll solo maybe the vocals and then we can move on. But I really enjoyed writing the lyrics of this one because, again, I didn't have to really try that hard. They just kind of came out. And in songwriting, I don't like focusing on every single word. That drives me nuts. That kills my creativity. And I've learned that about myself over the years. It's more important to me to write the melody and get it out rather than to like nitpick over every word. So I tend to kind of write placeholders. And the first verse of this song, the lyrics are, it's kind of lazy and a little bit sad, but I can't think of another way of putting it. It's kind of, there's nothing louder than the silent call. So I couldn't think of anything better to say there, so I just sort of made the lyric that. Like, I know this is kind of cliche, but, and then this lyric, there's nothing louder than the silent calls. So that's sort of the way I like to write.
It kind of encapsulates my music career. when I get introspective about those first lines. So
Yeah.
it's a relatable lyric
Absolutely. It's like, why aren't they calling me back? Why isn't Pitchfork writing about me? But yeah, I really enjoy being self-referential and making jokes, as I've said before, in my own music for my own sake. No one tends to ever know that I'm making a lot of jokes, but a lot of my music has these levels of humor to it. And yeah, this last chorus, if you haven't been able to tell, the lyrics change in the last chorus. So instead of repeating myself, I say something that goes like this. This is probably the wrong spot. Let me see. For me, that lyric, I don't like people in general. I mean, but I like you, babe. Let's get ethereal. It was kind of a fun line that I didn't think I'd actually keep. But I'm like, oh no, there's literally nothing else to say. That's what I want to say. And that is kind of a power move in lyrics. If you just kind of write something simple and you don't kind of like paint it with gaudy poeticism, it can be amazing and impactful. So I found that kind of fun, and I enjoy singing that because it's true. I don't like people in general, but I like some people.
Yeah, it's kind of it's one of those lyrics that I think a lot of people quietly share that sentiment.
I think so too. I think, yeah, there's a lot of people like that.
But yet the song is upbeat and it's fun.
Yeah.
And I did want to say that triangle.
Oh my God, the triangle loop.
Yeah, when you said, oh, let's get a triangle, I was like, really, a triangle? Because I'd never really worked with a triangle like that before. And it sits in the mix so nicely because it's such a high pitch to it. But it just elevates it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was really brilliant.
And I'm not like acknowledging that as though I'm a brilliant person, but a lot of my favorite songs have triangle in them, such as Try Not to Breathe by REM. That's one of my favorite songs of all time, both songwriting and production. I think it's amazing. And that's just like, as soon as you hear from the top of the song, you hear that triangle and it's like, ooh, something about this feels elevated. And I don't know.
Well,
it kind of sounds cool.
Also, when you're calling people for dinner off the front
My
porch.
mom did that as a kid.
So you hear the triangle and you're like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I know. My mom had a big black triangle. She'd always beat around for, to signify dinner was ready. In our hometown of Cranbrook, we'd be out in the field
I hope
playing
she
with
doesn't
hay.
do that anymore.
No, she doesn't anymore.
No one's home.
I don't live there anymore, so I'm not really sure. I don't live with my parents, so I don't know. Maybe she does. I'll have to ask my dad. I'd like to call a friend for this. Okay, we're done, I guess. And scene.